community is composed of the collective stories, history, and heritage of its people. It's important that everyone has the opportunity to share their story and be heard. The Community Oral History Project creates community space for people to come together to share and learn about the history, heritage, and traditions of our communities, highlighting what we share in common. Community can be defined by location, or community can be considered a collection of people bound together by shared experiences. My name is Emily Jones Hudson, and here are these stories.
My name is Tencha Combs. Uh, my birthday is 8/13/1955, and I live here in Perry County now. I was recently moved from Tennessee.
From where?
Tennessee, Waynesboro, Tennessee, and I'm originally from Knott County. I was born in Knott County, to Blanche and Shelby Short, and I ended up here.
Okay. So you were born in Knott County. Tell us a little bit about that growing up in Knott County.
When I was 2.5 years old, I took polio, and I lived most of my life up to 21 till I was 21 years old in Cardinal Hill Hospital. And then, I was often on, got to come home weekends and stuff like that, spend with the family. But that's mostly where I was raised, in Cardinal Hill Hospital, Lexington.
Okay, all right.
I couldn't walk. I was paralyzed from the waist down. I learned to walk 7 times over. And then those last 4 years I took, and I'm down now, and I won't never walk again.
Okay, all right. Who were your parents?
Shelby and Blanche Short.
Short, okay, all right. And tell me a little bit about them.
Well, Mommy was a Cottle. She was Jarvie and Virgie Cottle was her mom and dad from Floyd County. And my daddy, mom and dad was Dora and Shelby Short from Knott County.
Okay, all right. What did they do? Did your dad work in the coal mines? Or?
Daddy worked in the coal mines, yeah. Big part of his life worked in the mines and worked for the school system. My mama, she never worked. And that's...
Okay. Where did she teach school?
Mama, she never taught school. She just was a housewife.
Oh, okay, all right. Do you remember like any family traditions that y'all had?
Well, just Christmas and Thanksgiving. Easter and all that stuff. Birthdays, everything like that.
Okay.
We got together.
Describe your Thanksgiving.
Well,
family Thanksgiving gathering.
My brothers and sisters that lived off from here, they would come in for Thanksgiving and Christmases, and I would get to come home every now and then for Christmas from Cardinal Hill, but most of the time I didn't. But when I did, I enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. But there's one thing about it, I never had a doll. I grew up, never had a doll, because I was always in Cardinal Hill. And down there, we wasn't allowed to have personal toys, because each child, there's some that didn't get toys, and I never grew up with a doll, and I love dolls.
Yeah, okay. Is there a special or favorite family dish that was always prepared?
Yes, I always liked the homemade dressing for Thanksgiving. That was my favorite.
That's what your mom made?
Yes.
Yeah. Any other family recipes?
Oh, she had lots of recipes, and I've lost all of them. And I just recently moved here, so now I'm looking for recipes for myself.
Okay. You like to cook?
I love to cook.
Okay. What's the most favorite thing you like to cook?
Anything. I love to make anything. I love to make desserts. Just about anything. I love to cook.
Okay. All right.
Pay somebody to help eat it.
Yeah. What about quilting? Was quilting?
My mother made a lot of quilts.
Okay, tell me about that.
She would make them by hand. She didn't have a sewing machine. She made them by hand, and there was 9 of us in the family. Every one of them got a quilt but me, because I never was home. So I still never did get one of her quilts. And I want to make a quilt, but I'm not able. My hands right now, this one's partially numb, and I can't make a quilt.
Okay. Do you do any kind of crafting?
I crochet.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, I learned to crochet when I was in Cardinal Hill, and I've been crocheting ever since. I make afghans. I gave one to the cook here in the center, and she has it. And I make bed dolls, beautiful bed dolls. And I mean, I can make anything I want. And I'm getting ready to make a vest for one of the cooks.
Okay, all right. So how important is it that we pass our traditions down to the next generation?
Well, I think it's very important because as time goes on, people forget what we did before. And I think if we pass it down and it can be carried on, there's a lot of beautiful things that be made with crocheting or anything. And I think it'd be wonderful if people pick it up and just make things and donate. I have donated afghans to the Veterans Center out here for the veterans. And
Okay.
they really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's good. Do you remember any important events that took place, when you were coming up in the community, or, where you were? Do you recall any, what would be considered major events?
I was just always wanted to go to the Black Gold festivals and stuff. And I think I went to them one time. That's all I ever got to go to the Black Gold Festival. And I loved it. But, since I've been in this chair, I can't go in a lot.
Okay, all right.
It's awkward.
All right. What does it do for you to come here?
Well, it gets me out of the house because I'm by myself. And I really enjoy it because it gives me peace of mind. I mean, places worrying about what's going to happen to me and what has happened to me, I can forget about that for the time being when I'm here.
Okay. Anything else you want to share about yourself, your life, your family?
I've got one daughter and one granddaughter.
Okay.
And they live here in Perry County. Janet Blair and William David Blair is her husband, and I got a granddaughter, Caitlin Blair, and she's in college in Virginia.
Okay. So let me ask you this: when we're talking about the passing on of family history and traditions, how do you do that with your daughter and your granddaughter?
Well, I'm trying to get them to learn to crochet, and they don't want to. They're not interested. Because they said, well, whatever I want, you can make it. And I said, well, what if I'm not here? But I have made stuff and gave it to them, so
Yeah.
they have
Okay.
that.
How do you think, now, we're getting into some hard questions, but how can we get our young people interested in, their learning about their traditions and heritage?
I think what to do is maybe have a meeting like here and have the young people to come and let's all get together and bring things and show what we do and see if they're interested in learning. And if they are, we could teach them. I mean, we could show them here. I mean, I'd be glad to show somebody how to crochet, teach them how to do it.
Yeah, okay. Good. Anything else?
No, not really.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for your interview,
You're welcome.
taking the time to talk to me, and great. You keep on sharing your talents and gifts, and
I will.
keep on, talking about your life, and so that that can all be passed on and
Right.
and remembered. Yeah. All right.
Full name is Madeline Arnett, and my maiden name was Casey, and I'm born in April 9th, 1947, and I was born near Hyman in a little holler. I forgot the name of it.
Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about your parents. What were their names?
My mother's name was Greta Everidge. That's her maiden name. And then my dad's name was Arliss Casey.
Okay, and where were they from?
She was from in the Hyman area, and my dad was from Breathitt County.
Okay, all right. So tell me a little bit about what the community was like when you were growing up.
Well, I wasn't raised here in Kentucky. I was raised in Chicago. They had to leave to get jobs. There was no jobs back then, and but we came back every summer to visit my grandparents, and I have two sisters, and we just loved coming back every year. We'd play in the creek. The creeks were so pretty and clean, and we'd play in the creeks and, you know, pick berries and stuff, and just so many places to run. And we loved getting the water from the well, if I can remember that, and just so many little things that we enjoyed, you know. But we only stay a week at a time. We come maybe once or twice a year, and we were always anxious to come back here. And I have the two sisters and we always said we'd like to live back here. And but you know, it wasn't possible because there was no work back then for anybody hardly back here except coal mining.
Yeah. What did your parents do before they left? What kind of jobs did they have?
My mother actually worked in Hyman at the I think it's called the settlement school there, which is really popular today. I think it's in the history books. She worked there as a cook, and my dad, he just, as far as I know, my dad, they were divorced a few years later, but I don't think he worked in the coal mines, but he always worked doing something. And when we moved to Chicago, he worked in factories all the time.
How old were you when your family moved to Chicago?
We moved just a month or two after I was born.
Okay.
Because I have an older sister, 2 years older, and then the other one is 2 years younger.
And what's their names?
Phyllis Tobacco, that's her married name, and then the other one is Sandra Bellick.
Okay. And how old were you when you came back?
Well, I was, let's see, I was about 18 because I come back every year and visit my grandparents. And this one summer, my mom and stepfather brought me back and left me to visit for the summer with my grandparents. And I have an aunt that lived at Harburley, and that one weekend I went to stay with her and met this girl. She made friends with me, and we were going to a cookout supposedly, and we went, and that's where I met my husband. I met this boy, and he worked on the railroad, and 2 weeks later he asked me to marry him. And I said, well, I have to finish school. But I went back home to Chicago, and it was just about 2 months later, here he showed up. And we just took off and come back here. I had a car and come back here, and I've been here ever since, and that was 1964.
What's his name?
Manuel Arnett. He was raised at Hardburley, and he's been passed away about 5 years now. So I live alone, but I had 3 sons. They were all born in Indiana. We had moved to Indiana shortly after we got married for a while, but he always wanted to come back home. And I agreed because I really enjoy it back here and like the area. I just think it's just beautiful here. And So my two boys live here in the at Upper Second Creek in the same holler I do, and then the younger one just passed away a few years back.
Okay, what were their names?
The oldest one is John Arnett. Then there's Kenneth Arnett. He goes by Ken. And then the younger one was Shane Arnett.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your grandparents. You mentioned them.
It was my mother's parents that we visited. My father's parents lived in Ohio, I believe, and I never got acquainted much with them. But my mother's mom and dad, they lived at Clear Creek, and that's near Hyman. And I remember my dad would drop us off at the mouth of the holler, and we'd walk up that creek. But I remember my grandmother, we call them Mam and Pa, and Mam always cooked big meals. Even for breakfast, she would have chicken and, the biscuits and the gravy and eggs that everybody eats, but I never heard of fixing chicken or pork chops for breakfast, but she always made a meal like a big dinner. And but they were, I don't know how long they were married, but they were both together all their lives. And
What was their names?
well, Pearlie Everidge was my mother. I don't know what her maiden name was. And then my grandpa was, let's see, we called him Pa, what was his name? Punch, I believe. Punch, they called him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you recall any family traditions that was passed down, to through the generations?
To us, no, I don't.
Was quilting in your family?
Is what?
Quilting?
Oh, mercy, yes. I didn't think of that. My grandmother, she just quilted all the time. She made quilts. She actually made me one for my wedding present. And Pa, he worked all the time, but I don't know what he really worked at. I can't remember that. But everybody knew everybody here. But yes, she always quilted and always cooked good. And I can remember her churning her butter, that like this, And I said, well, I'll help you, ma'am, one day. And I quit right away because that's hard work. And she churned her butter all the time. And it was, as I recall, that's the best butter you can get.
So did they have like cows and?
Oh yeah,
all the
they had
animals?
cows and chickens, and she would kill her chickens to fix for supper. And let's see, they had cows and chickens, and I don't think they had pigs. I don't remember that. Roosters, and I think that's really, they had mules. They had mules to pull when they hoed the fields, they used a mule to pull that rake.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Gardening?
oh Lord, yes, they always had a garden, a big garden. I don't think they had to go to the store much to buy anything. They always grew everything, mostly. And they milked their cow. They milked the cow and made their butter and killed their chickens to eat, and lived quite a bit off the land. You pick berries. I remember them picking berries all the time, and we always thought it was really exciting, everything they did.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about school, when you went to school. Did you go to school up in Chicago?
Yes, I started school in Chicago. We all three of us did. we went to school. We lived real close to the school. We could have walked to it. And my mother and dad were divorced by then, and my mother was working and raising us. She worked in a factory, and we went to school. We naturally didn't like school, but we went every day, and we all did good in school. I can remember us all doing good in school. We never had any problems. And then when my mother met my stepfather, we moved to a better area because she was raising us all alone. And we didn't have much, you know, but we were happy. And then she married this man and my stepdad, and we moved out in the suburbs, and we went to school there, and which I liked it better in the city. I just was used to that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, since you kind of grew up in city life, but you came back here to the mountains during summer times and so forth, what are some of the biggest differences that you experienced coming back?
Oh, the whole way of living. Oh, the differences here.
Then, and when you were in Chicago and you came back home, what are some of the biggest differences that you noticed?
Yeah, well, I noticed everyone seemed like a little more distant, but they were still real friendly, and the way they were dressed was a little different.
This in Chicago?
Are you talking about Chicago or Kentucky? Kentucky.
Which place are you talking about?
Kentucky.
Okay.
Coming back here.
Okay. All right.
And but they got more modern. You know, every year seemed like it was more and more, modern than it was back then. But I remember us getting water out of the well. We thought that was a big deal too, and I missed a lot of that. But and then we walked on swinging bridges, and we just were real scared, but we'd always do that, and to this day I just think swinging bridges, if we could see them, it's just a miracle. I remember seeing one in toward Jackson, but it's all rotted away. But yeah, they were called swinging bridges, and they didn't have those anymore.
Yeah, right.
And playing in the creeks, you don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
And so there was some changes.
Yeah.
And then you had more stores to shop at, and so, and they started eating more modern, Didn't have their chickens to kill, but they still, a lot of older people done that though. So.
Yeah. How important is it for the older generation to pass on family tradition and history?
Oh, I think it's real important. And my great-grandpa, it's my grandpa's dad. I guess I'm nervous, I can't even think of his name.
It's all right.
But he's actually in the history books from the settlement school in Hyman. I think he donated the land there, and they have a cabin. It's actually his cabin that he lived in. It's one room, and it showed how he lived. It has a quilt hanging over near his bed, and a little fireplace and everything. But that's at the settlement school there at the park for everyone to go see, and everyone always visits it. And my youngest son, he was going to high school here at Napier years ago, which that no longer exists either. They've got new schools, but they had to write a thesis about something, and he was writing about his great grandpa Solomon Everidge. That was his name, Solomon Everidge, and that was my grandpa's name too, Solomon. But we called him Paul. And the teacher says, "Are you sure you're related to him?" But he was related to him. I said, "Tell her to call me." But he actually donated land there, and now they teach. I can't think what it is when children they can't. Dyslexic, yes. They teach that, and I was in another county one time near Somerset, Kentucky, and this woman said that she really was impressed with that school in Hyman because her little boy was dyslexic, and it helped him so much. So they've learned so much here that they can teach other people too in other counties that aren't, right in the area. That's different areas that have more than others here. And so it's changed, but it's, my memories are still there, and I like the old ways. But naturally, I wouldn't want to be milking a cow and doing all that work. But they worked hard. They had to work very hard to live.
Yeah. Okay. So what ways are you passing down to your children family history and traditions?
Well, they all know about my grandparents, and I have some pictures of them, and I tell them how we used to do, and I'll tell them little stories like when we'd come every summer, my dad, we'd get to a place where it was called Frozen Mountain, and we'd all get car sick. But we talk about that a lot. But I tried to tell my kids how hard it was and how hard they had to work for a living, and to instill working in them so they would work, and because some people don't want to work, but to live they had to really work hard, and it was just good people and good cooks and quilters, like just sewed and made clothes, and it's just really different now. We just go buy our clothes and buy our food. It's so much simpler. But I let them know how hard people worked years ago to live, and that they've got to work too, but they've got it made a lot easier than they did years ago.
Okay.
And they all turned out good workers.
Yeah, okay. What about race relations?
The what?
Race relations. Blacks and white get along.
I've never, in my younger days, I never saw black people or Chinese or Mexicans, whatever. I never saw them here. When we come, it was just white people, we call them. I never saw that, but when I went to Chicago, it was different. I remember we lived in a black neighborhood for a long time. There were just like 2 or 3 white families, but I've always got along with different races. I like hearing about them and things they do different, but we've got some here that I tell that I can remember when I was little and we were growing up in Chicago. The first neighborhood we lived in was a lot of black people, and we would play double dutch all the time. And I remember my best friend her name was Poochie. So I never had a problem with any racial things, and I raised my children to feel the same way, because we're all the same. We're just a different color to me. And in school, I went with all kinds of mixed when I was going to school in Chicago, being raised. to me, you know, they're just like me.
Yeah. And if we take the time to get to know one another, we'll find out we have a lot more in common.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are like you'll meet some of the black people. They think they're awful, but they're better than a lot of the white people. You know that's what we call. But I just I have some here I just adore, you know, and I get along good with them. And there's black people, and then there's a little Mexican girl, and really they're some of my best friends.
Yeah.
So I've always got along, and I taught my kids to be the same way, and I don't think they've ever questioned that. They don't seem to anyway.
Yeah.
They seem to get along with everyone.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my oldest boy, some of his best friends in high school were black boys, and they seemed to like coming to our house and I had a shed that was built outside, and they'd go out there and do whatever games or music they played a lot. But I think we all understand how the difference doesn't make a difference really. They just may talk a little different. But and me for myself, here I come, and some people say I talk proud, and others just say I talk so uppity. But in Chicago, we talk different than here. I don't have the southern drawl that they do here, but but they don't like look down on me for it. They know that's just the way I talk. I can't help it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now my family, when I moved back here, my husband always wanted to come back here and live, and we had the chance, so we did. And I think it was 1978 we come back here. And so then I'd go to Chicago and visit my sisters or my stuff, and because my mom wasn't living then, but they say, oh my gosh, you sound so southern, you know. And I come back here and they say, oh, you talk so proud. I can't please neither one of them.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. But thank you so much for sharing your story. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention?
Well, I know here too, you know, I've taught my kids too to never look down on people that have less than them, because a lot, they don't have the houses or something that you may have, but they've worked hard and they have what they have, and there's not really no jobs here, not very many jobs high paying, and they just do their best, and they're still good people.
Yeah. All right.
My name is Sharon Lynn Hayes. I am originally from the Vico, Kentucky area. I have been living in Hazard, Kentucky for the last 10 years. And I was born in 1953 in Shelby, Ohio.
Okay, so you were born in Shelby, Ohio. How did you make it to Perry County?
Okay, all of my remembrance is in Perry County area, because not long after I was born, my parents moved back to this area.
So they were originally from?
Yes,
Perry
they were
County?
originally from Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
They were actually from the Knott County area, but then all of my memories are in Perry County.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved to Perry County when I was 9 years old, and we went to a little school that had 2 rooms, and they had, of course, the potbelly stoves. And there was a guy that lived in that area, and they had hired him to get the fires going before the classmates got there.
Do you remember the name of that school?
It was Scuddy Grade School.
Good.
Scuddy
Mm-hmm.
Grade School. That's the area in Perry County where I grew up.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, you said your parents. What's your parents' names? What were their names?
My father's name was Herman Henry Huff. My mother's name was Dale Dixon Huff.
Okay. And you said that, okay, you were born in Ohio. They were originally from this area. What made them go to Ohio? Leave this area and go to Ohio?
At that time, my father had relatives in Ohio, and he went there to a factory to work with them. And all of those, my relatives in Ohio was working at the factory. It was a factory where they made like balloons and latex gloves and that sort of thing. And then I don't know the reason for them moving back, but my remembrance is at Scuddy when I was 9 years old.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did he work in the mines before he left?
No, he didn't ever work in the mines. He was in World War II. That was before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
He was in World War II, and he had gotten shell shocked, and it disturbed his nerves and everything, and so he was a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he didn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Alrighty. Looking back at when you were growing up in Perry County, you talked a little bit about the school, and was it a one-room school?
No, it had 2 rooms. There was 4 grades in one room. It went to the 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So 1st through 4th, and then another room 4 through 8.
Okay. Do you remember the teachers?
Yes, I do. One of them was Miss Goldie Bell from Vico area. And then there was a Homer Haywood. Actually, I graduated 8th grade there, and my diploma has his name on it. He signed it. And then there was another teacher named Jackie Goodson. And actually, my cousin Sandra Ross taught there for just a little while too. And then there was Donald Guy Combs. He taught there too. And I don't think I can remember anybody else. I'm sure the school was there a long time before I was. So the older students probably had different teachers. And they didn't get to stay home for snow. And we had to go, and we walked. I was glad it was just a short distance from my house. But the other children had rough times living up above me in the hollow. And so the teachers, back then it was a rough road, no pavement or anything, no 2 lanes. And it was up to the teachers to get there. And sometimes they had to park and walk quite a distance to get up there to teach the children. Mm-hmm. And when Goldie Bell was teaching there, we had a little side room they called the lunch room. And everybody took their plates and their forks from home. And so the teacher and one of the eldest 8th graders would go back there and get the lunch ready. Then we had our plates, and we had to go around to there in line, come back and have our lunch at our desk seat. And we had a pump, a hand pump by the school. And until we took our plates home to get washed real good, we took them down there and rinsed them off. And brought them back in the classroom until we went home.
Okay, wow. What about church life?
church. My parents weren't Christians, but they disciplined us well. But they never was born again Christians. But we had ladies and their children that walked to a church from quite a long distance in that hollow. Sometimes in the evening we was a long time getting back home. And I've always been thankful for that we had people that we could go with, even though our parents wasn't Christians. My mother didn't get saved and baptized until she was about 70. They were from an old regular Baptist family. My granny and all of the others relatives, most of them was from old regular Baptist. But the church that I went to with the neighbors was a Happy Baptist church. And growing up, I attended with them Sunday school and everything. But then I got married at a young age. So I was out for quite a while. I got saved when I was 48 years old. I had went back to that church that I had Sunday school in. I was in attendance in that church for 25 years. And I came to Hazard. And I now attend First Baptist Church on Main Street in Hazard, Kentucky.
Okay. What was your husband's name?
My husband's name was Thomas F. Hayes. He and I married young, and later on we had our first child when I was 19. Down through the years here, I either one wasn't saved, and I was saved 17 years, and he was sick a lot in the last 12 years he lived. And I talked to him constantly, prayed for him constantly. And after 17 years, the Lord answered my prayer. And he was saved and baptized.
Okay, awesome. What do you remember any family traditions that your parents or grandparents, they passed down through the family?
Well, what I remember when I was younger was that my parents got fruit every Christmas, but we was a real low income family, but they did that. And
Keep on talking.
we had, my dad would fix a paper bag with nuts and an orange and an apple and some of those little hard candies. Sometimes I think hard filled candies. And they always managed to get us a little present. The girls would get a baby doll when they was younger. And the boys would get some type of gun, maybe a BB gun or a pistol, and they always had a good dinner. My mom would make what we called a dishpan of dressing and the turkey, and she would take and bake cornbread and biscuit bread, because we didn't have a lot of light bread then. But she made biscuit bread and cornbread, and she would start with that bread and she would work it in with her hands. Mix it all up with her celery, onions, and the pepper and the sage, and then of course the turkey broth, and mix it all up and bake some and leave some in the way that she had stirred up in a pan. And I always liked the unbaked, and I still do today. So that was what she done. And my oldest brother, he had a lot of friends, and they would always be around our house at Christmas. And my parents would let them go to the table first and let my oldest brother have his friends first, And so we had a lot of people around, and at that time we didn't have a lot of relatives come in because it was in a time when people couldn't get backwards and forth. And my husband had never had stuffing like we made it until we got married. And after he tasted it, he loved it.
Okay, all right. Did anybody in your family quilt or do crafting, woodworking?
Not in the Huff family, I don't remember, but my mother always sewed. She hemmed, she put patches on with her hands, and she would take old skirts and cut them off and cut them to where they would have enough room up here to pull back and tie, and make aprons from old stuff like that we didn't use anymore. But I remember her always, when she cooked, she had an apron on. So, and my husband's mother, she did quilting, and she made her children's clothes on an old Singer sewing machine. And I have that sewing machine right now, but I have not ever been able to sew. I can put a button on, and that's about it.
Yeah. What was her name?
My mother-in-law's name was Naomi Hayes.
So, how important is it that we, learn our family history and pass down our family traditions?
I think it's important because I loved learning from my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law and father-in-law, we was right beside each other after I was married, and they had a lot of garden, and I learned a lot from watching them garden. Plus my dad was a farmer too, and I learned a lot from them. And it's coming at a time that maybe they need to know these things. I talk about it with friends and family all the time, that they need to know if they have to grow their own food, they need to know how they need to plant it and everything.
Yeah.
So they could have something that didn't come when they couldn't buy it from a store.
Right. So you learned about canning,
Yes.
did all that?
Yeah, my mother canned about every vegetable that we had for the winter. And I remember the green beans, and I guess the corn and everything else. They had a large number 3 tub, what we call a wash tub, and some old ragged quilts, and had like the biggest rocks they could find, and put them together in the yard and made a fire and set that tub there and put their cans of vegetables in it and put water and let that cook in that tub till the time that they thought they would be done enough. Yeah, and we had what was a little block house, what we called was a worm house, because it stayed a decent temperature in there. And they would put all of that inside there on the shelves. And our potatoes, my dad dug a big hole out beneath the house. And he would put our winter potatoes in that, and he had some pieces of roofing he put over top of that, and then some old quilts or something like that. And we had those potatoes all winter.
Okay. Yeah, and you're right about that. This generation doesn't know a lot about those survival, methods, and they may come back to that. But do you remember any significant or important events that happened in your community when you were growing up?
Mm. In the Scuddy community, we would always have missionaries that came to, and they always used our school.
Mm-hmm.
And they would take the names down of the students and their ages, and they would come back around Christmas time
Mm-hmm.
and give each one of us a present. And that was nice, really nice. I can remember a man named Roy Redbird from Redbird Missions that would come and give us, it would either be a toboggan or gloves, you know, something we could use, but we still liked getting it. I mean, it was a big joy to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the summer, we had missionaries come and we would have Bible school. And we had activities, plus we got taught about the Bible, the lessons and everything. And that was always a good thing for us in the summertime to pass the time.
Okay. Did you ever go to Camp Nathaniel?
I went one weekend to Camp Nathaniel and stayed overnight. Unfortunately, I didn't get to stay a week because we had verses that we had to learn to get a free week of camping, and I didn't do that. So I got to go over there for a weekend, and Senior Citizens right here takes us over there once a year, and we have dinner in the fellowship hall, and we have different people talking about different subjects, and that's always good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else you remember that you want to share?
I can't think of anything right now other than doing that at the school for Bible school and everything. We just played during the summer. We'd go down to the school ground and play, and the boys had basketball, and we just hung around and played. You know, they played each other in basketball. And other than that, we just played outside, and whatever we could get to play with. We played with sticks, and we played with playhouse. We made a makeshift playhouse out of anything that would come out of the house, you know, like cans and everything like that. And then we had our baby dolls that we could play with. But yes, that's
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your story and some of your family history. We appreciate it. And good deal.
thank you.
My full name is Vivian Louise Raynette Clemens, and I was born here in Perry County at Mount Mary Hospital.
Okay. When? What year? When's your birthday?
Oh, 4/28/1956.
Okay. All right. So, you were born here in Perry County. Tell me a little bit about your family life while growing up, who your parents are, and so forth.
My family life when I was growing up is my parents are Charity Jewel Linden, and my father is named Edward Frederick Linden.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about what you remember about your parents.
What I remember about my parents, they were Christian parents. My mother, she sung in the choir. My father, he was a deacon on the deacon board. And we grew up in church at the Consolidated Baptist Church. And it was 10 of us. It was 5 girls and 5 boys. Now it's 5 girls and 2 boys.
Okay.
I got 4 granddaughters. I got 3 children, a boy and 2 girls, and they're all grown. They're working. My son is a truck driver. My daughter's a school teacher in Charlotte, and my other daughter here in Perry County, she takes care of the elderly people.
Okay. Is your were your parents both from Perry County?
My father, he was from Breathitt County, and my mother, she was from Perry.
Okay. All right. What did they do?
My father, he was in the service. He was in the Army, and he fought the World War II. And my mother, she was a housewife, and she was on the kitchen committee at the church. And
Was she involved in some community activities?
yes, she worked with the mayor as the for the housing authority. She worked with the mayor. She was, one of the. She was on the board, working for the housing authority. And as far as I know, all my life I know she worked as working for the election and things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She sung in the choir.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What are some of your memories growing up in Hazard?
My memory growing up in Hazard is I worked over Town Mountain at the community center over there at Town Mountain. And as I was growing up, at school I run track. I worked just about all my life, and I got outside and we played kickball. We played in the creek, and we just, had all kinds of fun as I was growing up.
What was the name of the community that you grew up in?
Liberty Street.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It was a nice community, and everybody on Liberty Street got along, and all the parks was so close together. Everybody was going to everybody's houses, visiting, eating, and spending the night with friends and stuff there. We played dodgeball, we played basketball, played kickball, badminton. We took, we had a clothesline, and we took cardboards and put up on the clothesline and made us a tent, and we slept out in the yard overnight.
Okay, so a lot of fun for kids growing up.
Yes.
The close-knit community, and as I understand it, there was a school there.
Yes, Liberty School.
Okay.
That's where my mother went to school at.
Okay. What do you remember about that?
Well, see, I don't remember too much about that because I didn't even know about a Liberty School.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any stories that your mom told you about her going to school at Liberty?
No, that I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Do you remember your parents, sharing their story, their history, any family history, anything like that?
Well, my aunt, my daddy's sister, she was from California. She come and stayed with us, moved in with us for a while. And then he had a brother, Leon, and he would come home, every summer and, bring stuff home. Then my older sister, she stayed with them in California as she was growing up. And, it was just us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you remember any family traditions? Are there any traditions in your family that are usually passed down from generation to generation?
Yes, and my sister, we keeping the tradition going that my mama used to do in church, and that's work in the kitchen. And whenever they have like something at the church,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
whenever they have something at the church, we always work in the kitchen and help in the church. And that was one thing that my mama did. So when my mama left, we just kept the tradition going on.
Okay. So what about cooking? Is that something that your mom did, you know, cooking at home,
Yes,
had family
she-
dinners and things? Is
Yes,
that a
she had
family
big.
tradition?
Yep, she had big family Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas dinners, and we all would gather up there at her house and bake cookies, and all her grandkids would be there. And we'd listen to Christmas music and wrap gifts and stuff, and you know, we just had a good time, and we still do that now.
Yeah. So what are some of the favorite food dishes? And that's, you know, you find yourself still cooking today and making today. And like even today when you have your family dinners, everybody's asking for that particular dish.
Potato salad
Potato salad.
and deviled
Okay.
eggs.
Okay. All right. All right. So how important is it that we pass down to the next generation our family history and our family traditions?
Really, it's important because we're trying to get like reunions and stuff. We're trying to get the tradition passed down to the grandkids, letting them, you know, take over and make the reunion plans.
Okay. All right. Is there, when you remember growing up in the community, what were the blacks and whites get along? Anything you remember about, you know, the kind of activity and so forth going on in the community?
Uh, now what you mean by activities? Just any activities?
Like, did y'all go to the movie theaters?
Oh yeah, we
And
went to the movie
what was
theater.
it like in the movie theaters?
We pop our popcorn and go in the movie theaters and have grease coming out the bags of the popcorn, and we'd go to the movie theater just about every Sunday.
And did you go, was it at that time that that theater was segregated?
What to be black and white? Yeah.
What differences did you know?
That, well, to be honest with you, I couldn't tell if it was segregated or not. To be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Where did you go to school?
I went to school at the Old Hazard High School. I went to Roy G. Eversole.